you're not allowing yourself to be here. You're not allowing yourself to have this human experience. You're not allowing yourself to live this life. You're becoming someone else. So it's liberating to realize that and to cut that shit. Like, to completely cut it and just be like, no, like, this is my life. This is how I'm showing up. This is me. And anything that does not accept the way that I show up authentically in this world, the way that I am meant to occupy space, I don't need to fucking be there. I don't need to be there. So then what is the next move? Because hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Andy, and here on my little corner of the interwebs, I'll talk about life, love, the pursuit of passion, the pursuit of purpose, just all my musings regarding those topics. And I share some moments through vloggy vlogs from time to time. So if you're into that type of thing, definitely sit back, relax, make yourself at home. I would love for you to make yourself at home. You're always welcome. And honestly, what we're going to talk about today, I must say, it's just how I'm feeling. And how I'm feeling is just like fully recognizing and accepting the fact that it's growing exponentially more difficult for me to pretend in any aspect, honestly, but especially in regards to like pretending to care about things that I don't care about. Number one, caring about a lot of things. It's very hard for me to care about a lot of things lately. I'm noticing that about myself, and I'm just like mildly concerned, but also proud, because I feel like my energy and my focus is finally being pointed in a majority of the right direction. You feel me? So like things that I really don't need to care about, things that really don't deserve my attention and my focus, very rarely receive it. Like my energy is definitely flowing where it's supposed to go. My focus is definitely on what it's supposed to be on. And it takes a lot to take me up out of that. But just in the midst of that, it's very hard to get me to care about things. And it's very hard, it's even harder to get me to pretend to care about things. In this topic, honestly, there's multiple layers to it. Multiple layers to it. So many layers, in fact. I have notes today, because this could indeed become like a very ranty release situation that could span across like an hour or two. And I was like, I need to make sure that this message comes across and it is received as properly as I can manage to make it be received, because I will go off in so many different directions when I have these talks and when I'm really just like working through my thoughts and like talking to you guys, talking to this camera, talking to myself, and just working through these emotions and these things I'm feeling and these realizations that I have. Like, we can go in so many different directions. So it's like, take notes. So when I say that this can go in multiple different ways, the first thing is just the fact that there are so many important things, so many important events, situations, things that are happening in this world around us. Things that we very much need to be paying attention to, things that we very much need to be aware of, and considering the actions that we plan to take in regards to those things that are occurring in our world and in society, things that really impact the collective as a whole, the well-being of this world and of the people, of us as a collective. Those things really demand our attention, our energy to some extent. We have to be educated on those things. And this video is not going to be a deep dive into those things, into world situations and things that are going on, but it's just calling attention to the fact that it's like there are so many grand situations happening that if you're going to focus on anything, those things have to be toward the forefront of your mind. And when you're focusing more on those things, it makes it harder to really care to or to feel inclined to pay attention to anything else, anything that may be considered trivial, anything that may be considered just something that doesn't impact people, period. Like, it's just here, you know, like it's just a distraction. It's just something to keep your mind occupied. It doesn't have any substance. It doesn't really like have an effect on the world in general. So it's like when you're aware of these things, it makes it harder to really care about or focus on these things. It may feel more like your energy is going towards these things. So when somebody tries to like bring something else to your attention where it's like, what is that? Like, who cares about, how am I supposed to worry about this or care about this or pay any attention to this when all of this is happening? Like, and I don't know, if you are a millennial, then you understand. I feel like every year of our life something's been happening. Something is going on that is like we just have no choice but to be aware of. You know, like you're not going to just turn off your stream of consciousness. You are connected and you are seeing what's happening and you are affected by it. You have no choice but to at least be knowledgeable, at least be educated, at least know how you can make a positive impact and contribute to like try and make things better. No matter how much of an impact you might actually have, just having the belief that you can and putting forth effort to do so is what's most important. It's the intention behind it. It's the fact that you are willing to do it, you know? So it's just that like all these things are just always happening and it just makes it harder to really care about the little things, the small things, the things that just don't have any impact on anything. That's one level. That's one layer that goes into this topic. Stay with me because we're walking. And I need you to walk with me because I don't know what this walk is going to do. I don't know how far it's going to go. I don't know how long of a walk it's going to be. But we're just walking. So stay with me. Stay with me. And then the other layer, which can be like on a more individual level, not really like on a collective, like society, like the world around us level, but more just having to do with you. When you kind of just like realize what is most important to you in your life, what you actually love, what you actually find meaning in, what you actually care about. And as you're realizing that, maybe realizing the ratio between the amount of time and space that is able to be dedicated to those things as opposed to the things that you don't care about, you know, like more so the things that you kind of have to do out of obligation, the things that you kind of just have to do to survive, to sustain, like whatever the case may be. And we also like talked about that before. We talked about that in a previous video where I was just saying, make sure that ratio, make sure that you're adding more space in there for things that you enjoy as opposed to just every moment of your life being toward or put toward obligations, responsibilities, as Tommy Pickles would say, things that you just have to do. Make sure that you're finding more time to give time to things that you can find enjoyment in. So kind of just like also leading on with that topic, in that realm, the things that you care about in your life and how you want your life to look, how you may notice that you are able to give it like this much time, like this tiny bit, and then the whole rest of it has to go towards stuff that you just like don't care about. It has to go towards like things that you are like spiritually disconnected from, but that you have to focus on and give energy to because you just have to, because that's life, or you know, you have to play the game of life, things like that. So also on that other layer, it's kind of recognizing that and just being like, how do I fix this ratio? How do I make it where the things that I love and I enjoy and that actually give me purpose and meaning in this life take up more space and time? And this side of the things that I don't care about becomes smaller. Like I only have to dedicate this little bit of time to these things and the rest of my life can really just be enjoyed and lived properly. Because you realize that any amount of time that is going towards those things that you do not care about or like needing to put forth that focus and that energy, because what do they say? That's a quote. I'm going to put it up because I can't remember who said it right now, but where focus goes, energy flows. When you're having to put more focus on those things that you really do not care about at all, your energy naturally just goes to that. Like that's why it's also so important to kind of watch your mindset and what you tend to focus on, what you tend to think about, because you want to tend to think more about the positive so that you naturally feel more positive. You naturally radiate and exude positivity. You naturally attract positivity. And even when the BS and all the other shit still comes your way, that positivity just outweighs it because you're still only focusing on that. You're not giving so much energy and attention to the negative shit. So that's a tangent. That's a tangent. But basically just on that level of like where focus goes, energy flows, not just trying to be more cognizant of where you are placing your energy and trying to change that ratio is with the purpose of refocusing that energy, basically, because you want to put more energy and more focus towards what you actually care about so that that continues to grow. You want to make more time and space for that. And in wanting to create more time and space for the things that you actually care about, your focus is toward that goal. It's toward just wanting to make that time and space for those things and lessen the time and space that goes to those things that you don't care about. So it's like you naturally just don't want to focus on these things at all, and it becomes harder for you to even pretend to care about those things. Like, I don't want to give any more energy to this shit than what I have to give. Like, you're gonna get the barest of minimum energy from me because I'm not gonna give you more than that. I'm not gonna give you any more than what I need to give just to get the job done, just to do what I need to do, just to play the game of life, just to whatever the case may be. Like, I'm not gonna give any more than what I need to do because I don't want this to be a primary focus in my life. My life is to be lived over here. And then in trying to fix that ratio and trying to lessen the amount of time that has to be put towards things that you don't care about, I've also just realized, like I said, it's growing exponentially more difficult for me to pretend to even care about those things over here. Like, those things that I have to just focus on, that I have to do just because I have to do them, it's so hard for me to even pretend to care about them. Like, and it's just such a like moment of realization for me, such a moment of like acknowledging my growth and just seeing how far I've kind of come in this journey of like recognizing the discrepancy in these spaces and how my time and my energy is being used and what is being put forth to. Because there were many years, I feel like it was the default for so many years, where it's like I had so much time and energy that had to be put forth towards things that I just didn't care about. It's stuff that I just had to do, whatever it is. Sometimes you have to, or you feel like you have to show up in spaces and suppress yourself. You can't fully be authentic. You can't fully be yourself because of whatever it may be, because you have to play the game of life, because you have to deal with corporate politics, whatever it is. Maybe something has happened where somebody influenced you or something happened to kind of change you in that way. For example, like if you dealt with a manipulative partner, if you had abusive parents, things like that, where it's like you may have used to feel inclined and been okay with expressing yourself and being your natural authentic self, but then something happened where you grew to suppress that. For example, me, like I did deal with like a manipulative partner, and it got to a point where it's like you would used to be so okay with like expressing yourself, saying how you feel, sharing your thoughts. But then when you're dealing with somebody who every time you speak your mind, every time you express yourself, it becomes a big deal, it becomes a fight, it becomes a problem. Naturally, I would kind of become a shell of myself. Basically, you become a shell of yourself. You just leave things alone. You just decide to kind of suppress who you are to keep the peace, you know? Like things like that happen where it just alters your capability or your feeling of being safe in a space to be who you are and to remove a mask, you know, to not have to put on a facade and be someone that you're not. And in this journey of realizing how much time and space I was putting towards being somebody who was not fully myself, realizing essentially that I had become more so just a collection of other people's desires or a collection of other people's projections, of a shell of myself, as I said, or just somebody who was a result of just not feeling safe enough to be fully herself. Realizing how often I had to do that, realizing how drained I was because of that, and how out of place I felt in my own body, how my soul was not connecting with the things I was doing and how I was showing up in this life and in this world, and commencing this journey and this very focused action of changing that, of recognizing where are the places where I am feeling forced to show up in a way that does not resonate with me, and where I am able to, and seeing how big that space was compared to this space, and fixing that ratio. So it's like upon realizing that and just growing more comfortable and safe in that journey and making it basically from one extreme to the next, because it's like you go from feeling suppressed and feeling like you can't express yourself and you're not feeling like you can show up authentically as yourself to like only being able to show up authentically as yourself. Like, and under that is, if I don't care about something, everybody's gonna know. Not in a disrespectful way, like I'm not that type of girl who's gonna be mean to anybody or who's going to like be rude, but in a way where I take the opportunity to, when it's appropriate, to express me not giving a fuck. Like, me not caring. Like, take me out of this. Like, take me off this rotation. Take me out of this conversation. Take me out of this area, because I don't care about this and I'm not about to pretend to care about this. And I was just thinking about that more this week because a couple things irritated me this week that just prompted me to realize, like, bro, I don't care. And it's getting harder for me to really like suppress that. And upon realizing that, I just realized on the deeper level how hard it is for me to suppress anything that is in regards to my authenticity, anything that is in regards to how I just naturally need to show up in this world, how I naturally desire to express myself. I can't do it. Like, I just can't do it. You will always receive exactly what you are meant to receive from me. You will always basically see my whole soul when you're interacting with me. Like, I'm not giving you anybody else but me. And any space or any situation where I feel like it's not safe for me to fully show up as myself, it's harder for me to conform to that space. Like, I have to fully show up as myself, no matter how that may come across, no matter how that may seem. And I feel like the world and everyone should just like put more attention to that. Like, where are these areas where you feel like you have become a collection of other people's desires or a collection of people's projections? Like, times where you have taken on the feelings and the thoughts of others and didn't even notice. Like, for example, say that you like to travel solo and you tell somebody, you tell your friend, and your friend is like, oh my god, like, you don't need to be traveling solo, like, you're gonna get kidnapped, like, things happen, somebody's gonna do something to you, like, don't do it. So you're like, ooh, you know what, wow, that friend took that fear and was like, whoop, and you was like, oh, and now you're holding on to it. It's still their fear, it's not yours. They're still holding on to it, but now they gave a piece to you, and now you're holding on to it too, and you're not going to go on solo trips. You're not going on solo trips because you are holding on to their fear. You have replaced that piece of yourself, something that resonates with your soul, something that you feel called to do, with the fear of somebody else. Essentially adding to you becoming a collection of somebody else's projections. She projected that fear onto you, you took it. And now you have her fear. It's still not your fear. You have hers. That fear has been bothering her, has been circling around her, and she gave you a piece, you caught it, and you're holding on to it. Stuff like that. And basically it's just like, when you realize that, when you give yourself the opportunity to really like look at yourself and look at what your life looks like and examine whether this is how, like, are you showing up fully as yourself? Are you really just acting and doing things because somebody else kind of said something that just impacted the way that you move about the world, and now you are basically just a culmination of other people's thoughts and fears and all that stuff? When you realize that and you put forth that action to change that, it's liberating. It's so liberating. And that's what I was saying, is like, it's like half concerning, half liberating. Because it's like, I really just do not care to pretend. Like, there's no facades with me. There's no like putting on an act. And anytime that I still feel like I have to do that in any capacity, at any capacity, it is extremely difficult for me. Like, I'm struggling. I'm struggling to do it. Whereas like years ago, like in my 20s, whatever the case may be, like whether it's like working in the office, whatever, like being at work, it used to be the default, you know? It's like, you just know that you have to show up as the shell of yourself. You know that you have to show up and make yourself more palatable. Or like I said, if you had like a certain, like a manipulative partner or something, where you just take on the habit of just suppressing your emotions, suppressing your thoughts, and again becoming a shell of yourself because you just want to keep the peace. Like, you're not allowing yourself to be here. You're not allowing yourself to have this human experience. You're not allowing yourself to live this life. You're becoming someone else. So it's liberating to realize that and to cut that shit. Like, to completely cut it and just be like, no, like, this is my life. This is how I'm showing up. This is me. And anything that does not accept the way that I show up authentically in this world, the way that I am meant to occupy space, I don't need to fucking be there. I don't need to be there. So then what is the next move? Because I need to figure out how I don't have to deal with this no more. How I don't need to be in this space. How I don't need to be around these people. Like, what do I need to do to make life look the way that it's supposed to look? Because this shit ain't supposed to be in here, you know? And it's liberating. As you continue to realize those areas and those spaces that really can just go, and you take the steps to get those things to go, and you make your life yours again. And now anything that requires you, anything that does not fit that description, anything that is not meant for you and your authenticity, you get it up out of here so that more of your life can be you showing up the way that you're meant to show up. And I just really hope that everybody takes the time to realize that. I want it to become more of the norm. Like, we shouldn't have spaces where people feel inclined to change themselves or to conform, to make themselves more palatable. We shouldn't have spaces like that. We should celebrate everybody's individuality. You feel me? And I think everybody kind of knows that, but then the powers that be are just like the powers that be. But I think that it kind of goes back to, I guess, what I was saying at the beginning, where it's like, you take the action, you make the change, you do it. And all you worry about is you doing it, because you know that it would just make collective as a whole and the greater good. It would be good for everyone. And if it makes a difference to the collective as a whole or not, I guess it doesn't really matter. It's like you're still putting forth effort to make a positive impact in that way. But hopefully, if everybody just does it, then it does make a positive impact for the collective. Everybody will have more spaces where they can show up where they can show up authentically because everybody is doing it. Everyone is being more accepting of who people are and not having these fake like standards or these fake ways that you kind of have to come across and what you have to do to appease people and to move about this world and to survive and to do what you need to do. It's like, why do you have to show up as anything other than yourself just to live? So yeah, it's liberating to kind of realize that and to just find the space and make the space that you can to just fix that ratio and to just be who you are fully meant to be as much as you possibly can, basically. And it just makes it very hard to really just like give a fuck about anything that does not fit that. And anything that I don't care about, I really just cannot pretend to care about it. And anything that makes me feel like I can't be myself, I really don't want anything to do with it. Like, I don't know. It's just a really cool thing to realize. So I hope that you realize it, okay? And I can take it in another direction. Like, I could be like, it also has a positive benefit on or impact on how you interact with others, because honestly, people know that like what they're getting from me is me. Like, you're not gonna get any fake shit. Like, I'm not gonna play games with you. I'm not going to be anyone other than myself. I'm not going to, like, I have no problem expressing myself. I have no problem sharing my thoughts and like telling you how I feel about you, having tough conversations, having beautiful conversations, just expressing myself in any way. So, and when people know that they don't have to doubt who you are showing them, like, I know no matter what that Andy is showing up as herself. She doesn't even have the fucking energy to pretend. Like, that's a good thing. But yeah, I don't know. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. I really just hope that this landed safely on you. I really hope that it added some type of value to your life and to your thoughts. I really hope that it gave you something to consider, to reconsider, to kind of analyze when it comes to your life and how you're living it. Just something that maybe if you hadn't thought about it before, that now you're going to think about it. Think about that ratio of like the times where you're forced to really just like care about things that you don't really care about, and the times where you can fully just like show up authentically as yourself, and you can care about what you really want to care about. You can place energy and focus towards the things that actually have meaning for you, and how you're going about making more of your life consumed with this as opposed to this. I just want you to make sure you're doing that, okay? And take it seriously. Take your life seriously. The things that you choose to care about and that you choose to give a fuck about, make sure that you really do care and give a fuck about those things. There is a book. I read a book that kind of has the same message. And I read it years ago, so I'm sorry if I kind of like talk about it incorrectly or like kind of share the overall message of the book incorrectly, but it's literally called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and I think it's by someone named Mark Manson. If I'm wrong, I'm gonna put it on the screen regardless. But basically that book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, is basically, it's not about not giving a fuck, it's not about not caring, it's about just being more intentional about what you do care about, what you do place energy towards, and not putting so much energy towards the things that are not worth you caring about them so much, you know? That's basically like the overarching premise of the book. So that's my book recommendation of the day, and that is my talk for the day. So I really hope, again, that you receive something valuable from this and you consider some things, and that it just adds some value to your life, okay, Bookie? So if you enjoyed this talk, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. If you want to make yourself at home, only if you want to make yourself at home, only if you love it here. I only want people who love it here, okay? Subscribe. I will talk to you later. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.